Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to GypsyPoet Radio here on blogtalkradio.com/GypsyPoet. I am the Gypsy Poet, and with me is the wonderful, amazing, relentless, and mysterious and mesmerizing Girl George. Yes, people say it with me, Girl George. Always, she's a blast. I got to tell you. Well, we got a really interesting program this afternoon with one of the most awesome people I've ever come across, and with all the research that I've done, I'm like, wowed, okay? This man is none other than the most famous tattoo artist of all time and the most famous tattoo artist in the world, none other than the wonderful Lyle Tuttle. Is everybody with me?
Yes, I'm right here.
Wonderful. Mr. Tuttle.
Hi, Lyle. What are you doing today?
Well, I'm actually out working on in the yard, and I come in here and got out of the sun, and I bought the house next door to me, and I.
Oh, you did? So you got two houses now?
Yeah, one side by side.
Oh, you going to put the museum in one of them?
No. The museum is much bigger than would go in a house.
Where is it at? Is it downtown Ukiah?
You know, I haven't. The museum hasn't been put in there. I want to do I've got a place to put it if I can make a deal with the landlord for a 6-month feasibility study. And in that way, I could show the city of Ukiah and sponsors that would be sponsoring the museum of the productivity of it, of bringing people into Ukiah, because it's 120 miles north of San Francisco and in a small community, probably 50,000 area population. So you got to, got to show them you can produce.
So how did you end up starting to tattoo rock stars? I've known you since about 1962. I was on your business card back in '62, and then all of a sudden, after I went to Nashville, you became very, very, very famous. And you were tattooing the Allman Brothers and Janis Joplin. You were in the Rolling Stone magazine and Look and Life. And my goodness, you were even the centerfold in the Rolling Stone magazine, naked, with a star over your business. How did that all happen?
I don't know. It was you didn't have to realize now that. I was in everybody's favorite city.
Oh, yes, San Francisco.
San Francisco. Everybody's favorite city, and it's a crossroads of the West Coast. People think maybe Los Angeles and Hollywood is, but it's San Francisco, and everybody loves San Francisco and comes to San Francisco. But then in 1971, I did open a tattoo shop on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. And so anyhow, they...
well, you were famous before you went to Hollywood. You were famous from you were still on 7th Street next to Market in San Francisco when you first started getting in the magazines and stuff. How did you first get in that first magazine? What was it, the Rolling Stone magazine?
No. What happened was that you have to realize that women's liberation came along. I was sitting in everybody's favorite city. So anyhow, it just made it a kinder, gentler art, and then the press finally caught the idea that tattooing wasn't invented by the devil, and it's not practiced by ogres, and it's an art form that goes back long before recorded history.
Yes.
And then due to the fact that I was dealing with so many, I don't know, I'm not going to say unclothed ladies, because they wasn't unclothed entirely, but in some, sensitive areas, because they'd like to. Nowadays, women, they got tattoos in their hands, they got them on their neck, they got them scattered all over. But back in those days, it was like rosebuds, butterflies, and things of that nature. But the placement was like on the lower back, inside of the bikini line, breasts, and things like that. So that enamored the press, and they was climbing all over one another's shoulders trying to get interviews.
So what was the very first interview that you did? Would they just walk in and get a tattoo and then say, oh, this would be a cool story?
You know, it was practically that way with Rolling Stone magazine, but I don't. I just don't know the first interview that I gave. I know that the first time I ever seen my mug in a newspaper and it was like an ad I had taken out an ad in the San Francisco Chronicle, a small ad, and then the guy that sold me the ad, he just wandered in there. In fact, his name was Bill Bates, and he used to draw a cartoon. I can't think of the name of the cartoon now. It was a little Chinese guy that was in a cartoon, and it went pretty good there for a while. But he was also selling advertising for the Chronicle, and it was a picture of me. Part of my success too, also, was when in San Francisco when I moved into that 7th Street location. I'd been tattooing for 11 years. That was in 1960, and I was tattooed all over, and so I showed that I believed in my product, and that so that was the first time I ever seen my mug in the newspaper was in that ad. And I'll tell you the truth, I don't know. Then in 1960, the same year I opened that shop up, they had some problems in New York City, and they had no health regulations, so what they did was they swept tattooing under the rug and outlawed it. So all of a sudden, bingo, there was 9 million people taken out of the loop on the East Coast. And the press, of course, picked that up to beat the band. And then that wound up getting some interviews of that problem, but it also got interviews with tattoo artists all over the world, because that was the first time that tattooing had ever received any type of multiple publicity, even though it was bad.
Yeah, it was always underground before that,
Well, it had been
sort of, just bikers and sailors and
they said drunken sailors and fallen women and all that stuff. They were a hell of a lot more fun to tattoo than these yuppies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure the girls were a little bit of fun to do, though. I mean, and I didn't get a rose. I got a dragon on my butt.
I think you're the first person I ever autographed.
Yes, I know. I had just come back from New York. I'd been in Nashville, and then we went to New York, and Star got bitten by bed bugs at the Albert Hotel, and she got sent back to Arizona, and I came back to San Francisco and ran into you again, and you were tattooing the Allman Brothers and Janis Joplin and all these people, and I was crazy from being in New York. You were on acid. You gave me some acid for about a week. So everyone was on acid, and you were doing all these tattoos, and I said, I want a tattoo. You said, what do you want? I said, a dragon. And you said, no, you can't have a dragon. You're a girl. I said, I want a dragon. You said, no, you can't have a dragon. I said, how about an eagle? No, you can't have an eagle. So we went to see Hot Tuna were playing. And then at 2 o'clock, I said, well, we better do it tonight or I'm going to chicken out. So we all went back to your studio on 7th, and you drew this thing on my butt. It was an ink pen, and I looked in the mirror. I said, well, put some wings on it. It looks like a worm. And so you drew some wings on it. I said, okay. So then you hit me with the needle. I screamed, and all the guys jumped on top of me. All Hot Tuna were holding me down, and I was screaming. And I ripped up the guy's hand with my fingernails. And so that's how I got the dragon. Then a couple of days later, I said, oh, well, you should sign it. All artwork should be signed. So we went back to the studio, and this time I didn't say a word when you wrote it was your needle, because everyone was calling me a wuss.
That's the only tattoo I do anymore, because I retired in 1990.
Well, that's all you need to do.
So that's the only thing I wind up doing anymore is just autographs, and I only do one a day. And at conventions and things, because I've done as high as 32 tattoo. They're not conventions; they're trade fairs. There's a couple tattoo organizations that do, like the National Tattoo Organization and the APT, the Alliance of Professional Tattoo Artists. So I think to qualify as a convention, you have to take, and then you have to read at the next meeting the minutes of the last meeting, and you have to appoint committees. Well, these others are trade fairs where people get together and exchange notes, and they have tattooing where you can go, the general public of that area can go in and get tattooed, and So they're really trade fairs.
And they sell T-shirts and shirts and stuff. Because I bought a shirt at that one. The last time I seen you, I went to some tattoo convention you were at. You ran off. You took me in the place and you said, "Oh, I gotta go somewhere." And so that was the last I seen you. But I bought this shirt. I wear it all the time now. It's got a guy with his face is tattooed, and it's got the voodoo shop, Tater Red's voodoo shop or something, with a lot of skulls and stuff on it.
Well,
My favorite shirt.
You don't know what it's got on because you go up to a mirror, you can't read it because it's backwards.
I discovered a little bit of research on tattooing is especially here in the U.S. alone. There was actually an individual that started it here. I think his name was Hildebrandt, I believe it was, and he actually started tattooing various soldiers of the North and the South during the American Civil War. I wanted to ask, has anyone ever requested anything of you from that particular era to tattoo upon them? Like
that I wouldn't tattoo on them?
Yeah, that you would tattoo on them like the Confederate flag or things of that nature or anything? I mean, just from the...
I've tattooed a lot of Confederate flags. I don't like to tattoo people on the hands. I won't tattoo you on the face or the neck, which is very popular today.
Well, you'll tattoo inside the mouth. I know your name is inside your mouth. If you pull your lip down, it says Lyle. All the guys that worked for you had their name inside their lip.
Well, I haven't tattooed anybody. I haven't tattooed anybody other than my autograph for longer than most people that's getting tattooed today are old.
Wow.
But anyhow, I don't know. What is this? 13.
How did Janis Joplin...
I've been 23 years I haven't tattooed.
How did Janis Joplin get her tattooed? She just walk in the shop and say, "I want a tattoo"?
That's what happened. One day, there was an article in that Rota-Gravure section or the color section of the San Jose paper about me, and she had just got back from South America. And I don't know, it was a day or two later because, and all of a sudden here come two big old shaggy dogs roaring in the tattoo shop.
Oh my!
Well, you don't.
Did they fight with Chadwick?
Chadwick wasn't there that day.
Oh, good.
Or he was in the back room because wasn't out in the that tattoo area, and it wound up that you wouldn't take your dog to a dentist's office or a doctor's office. And so she had a bracelet that she liked and it was free-handed on, and she went a little hard on her breast and said the bracelet was for everybody, and the one on her breast was for her special friends.
Did you do them both at the same time, or were they done on different days?
One after the other, yes. I mean...
Oh, cool. How did you meet the Allman Brothers? You designed that mushroom thing that's their logo, didn't you?
Indeed. I lived over in Marin County, which is across the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco, and I used to come down Van Ness Avenue and cross Market, and I went past Fillmore West, and there was a marquee out there, and written on the marquee it said Fillmore West, and then all of a sudden it just said Allman Brothers on it. So I thought, oh, them hippies, they're not, because people that played in a lot of bands, their names are unknown. The bands are famous, but and so Allman Brothers. I thought, Allman Brothers. That meant I don't know, just hippie sayings, And so when I got to the tattoo shop and parked, and I come up and to the door, there was 3 guys there, or maybe 4. And anyhow, they wound up to be roadies for the Allman Brothers. And so they come up and got tattooed. And about, 6 o'clock that night, there was a fellow come in, and he had his Levi's were all faded and everything else, but he had pleats in them. Not pleats, but where you iron clothes and you get a crease. And it was just immaculate. And coiffured, and then he had a lot of turquoise jewelry on, and then he told me that he was Greg Allman from the Allman Brothers.
And long, silky blonde hair.
and a great big cookie duster. And so I told him I knew he wasn't a street hippie, you know. So then I went to the concert that night, and then Dwayne was still alive then.
Oh.
So then Dwayne come up with, he said, everybody needs a mushroom. So I put a mushroom on all the band that night.
That's amazing.
And, you know, after the concert was over, and so that was the Allman Brothers tale. So
including Dwayne. I didn't know you tattooed Dwayne, too.
Yeah, he was still alive then, yes.
So, what about the Stones? I know you were at the Stones concert for Tattoo You. Did you tattoo any of the Stones themselves?
You know, I never did.
But you tattooed everybody else backstage because they had you backstage.
Well, but I didn't tattoo out there actually. I wound up. They had their album at that time was Tattoo You.
Yeah, I know.
And it was a set of lips with a tongue. And so they supplied me. I could have went on the whole tour. Then they set up backstage. It wasn't open to the public. It was just backstage. And there's a woman in San Francisco who was doing the catering, Magnolia Thunder Pussy. That was her handle. I don't know if it was her real name, but anyhow, she was doing the catering there, and then it was like a frontier village that they had built backstage at Candlestick Park. So what we were doing was just actually putting those temporary tattoos on out there, because tattooing takes a certain amount of time, and you just don't have the time to put a bunch on or anything. And the Stones went through there, and their brothers and sisters, and you know all that. And I think a guy named Buffalo Springfield maybe was playing.
Oh yeah, Buffalo Springfield. That's what Neil Young was in that group.
Oh, was he?
And Stephen Stills, I think, or somebody like that was in there. Some of Cosby, Stills, and Nash were in there.
You know, so anyhow, it's wound up that you just never knew who was going to walk through the door.
Yeah, you gave me a backstage pass for there the next day because you didn't want to go again, so you gave me your backstage pass, so I went.
Okay.
How did you meet John Lennon? How did you meet? You met him, right?
John Lennon?
Yeah.
Well, I was in New York and back there, and I was representing. They did a body shirt of my tattoos from the.
Yeah, I know. I used to have one. Somebody stole it.
Long sleeve. I don't even have one, and it was about $250,000 of them made.
You should make some more of them.
Anyhow, but I got the original. That's the most important. So anyhow, it wound up that I always used to stay in the Chelsea Hotel because there was no cell phones in those days. And if you're off traveling, it's nice that people can get a hold of you, you know, like business associates and family and things. So at each city, I'd always stay at a certain hotel, and I'd stay in the Chelsea Hotel. And I remember they were actually filming the movie inside of the hotel, Superfly. Because Superfly's Pimpmobile was outside. A Cadillac, great big old. So pulled up there in a cab, and somebody was walking across the street with my body shirt on. So I was proud as punch, and it had just come out, and so I hollered at the guy, and you know, it was Chelsea Hotel's on a fairly busy street, or all streets in New York are fairly busy, and so the guy went over and waited on the sidewalk, and I jumped out of the cab and I run across the street to tell him, hey, that's made after my tattoos on my body, you know, which some people, you know, like to hear or meet you or whatever. And it was John Lennon.
Did you pull your shirt off for him?
I didn't pull it all the way off, but I showed him some tattoos, and we sat there and talked for a few minutes, and he went on his way, and I went back across the street. But he was a nice, affable guy, you know.
Yeah.
You know, because you just never know how people are going to be until you meet them.
Yeah, I know. I've met some famous people, and when I said, "Oh, I love that song," they said, "Oh, what a stupid song that was." I go, "Oh my goodness."
I wanted to jump in and ask a little bit about Cher because she's actually somebody I grew up listening to, and I've always loved her as a person. And and when Girl George approached me and told me that they also have done her tattoos, I was kind of curious. What was that like?
Well, they wound up that she came in or called down in the Los Angeles shop. So actually somebody else in my shop did her tattoo. I talked to her on the phone and everything else, and then I used to have a big Chinese junk, and I was off sailing that junk off when she came in and got that tattoo. And I had talked to her on the telephone and everything else, and she wanted, so anyhow, I called up, and I said that Lyle Tuttle was calling for Cher, but returning her call, and she had answered the phone, and then she turned around and handed me over to an English secretary. So now I was going through some kind of another person, and I couldn't hardly understand the English woman's accent. And it wound up that she wanted her dress designer to design her tattoo.
Bob Mackey.
Her dress designer.
Yes.
I said, well, fine, but I get to design your next dress. I don't know. It was just, but anyhow, that when she decided to come in, I was not there. I was off sailing out in the blue Pacific.
So somebody that worked for you did it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Your shop in Hollywood was right across from around the Comedy Store, right? And the Hyatt or something like that.
And the Continental Hyatt House. Yeah,
you were across the street from that.
Yeah, it was called the Sunset Towers. It's the Sunset Hotel now.
Yeah.
But so that was an ideal spot because all the bands and everything would stay over there at the Continental Hyatt House. I know, Sha-Na-Na, some of the guys there got tattooed, and the ISLEY brothers. It's really funny. I tattooed a lot of well-known musicians, and music is not my thing.
I know you like B.B. King. You said you always liked the King brothers, B.B. and Albert, and
well, Albert King, Freddie King, and B.B. King.
Yeah. See, I remember.
That's top drawer, know. And blues is melodious and everything else. So I'd love to go to a rap concert with a machine gun. Or some of that other squealing, screaming stuff that they have nowadays that they call music.
Oh, you mean like I said? Okay, how about the place on Columbus? You opened that shop on Columbus, and at first you had the Tattoo Rose, which was a coffee house underneath, and I played at it for a while. I had an open mic there, and we sang there downstairs, and you had a shop above it.
That was from 80 to 83.
Yeah, and that's when you had the first tattoo ball at Bimbo's. Was about 70, what 70?
I think 78 and 79 was those two tattoo balls.
Oh, those were fun. I played at those. Those were great.
And, we had, Pee Wee Ellis played there, and
Snooky Flowers played, and Nick Ravenitis, and Mark Knopfler, or somebody like that. Had a lot of big stars there, and if they show their tattoo at the door, they got $1 off the price, right? So if they're taking their clothes off on Columbus, they get $1 off.
Well, you'd be surprised at some links that people that didn't have tattoos that came to that would draw one on. It was some gal come up, and she put her leg up on this chair, and she hoisted her wares, and she'd drawn one up so high you could see sunshine.
Oh my God.
But anyhow, that was they got $1 back at the door if they had a tattoo, and I thought that was a good gimmick.
I thought it was funny. That way they get to strip their clothes off because people that have tattoos seem to be exhibitionists and say, "Here, look at mine." That's why I put it on my ass so I could pull my pants down and show it.
And
by the way, about that Rolling Stone centerfold, who took that picture? That naked one was a star.
Well, that was actually the 1982 Christmas card for Rolling Stone magazine.
Uh-huh.
And that was Annie Leibovitz.
Annie Leibovitz. Oh, wow.
Annie
She's
Leibovitz.
real famous.
Yeah.
You were
I
also
did.
on the cover of the Rolling Stones, too, weren't you? That was
Yeah, but I feel remiss, but I don't remember the fellow's name that took the photograph.
Well, that's okay. You were still on the cover. Who cares who took it?
Exactly. And Captain Hook had a hit song out right after that.
Oh, Dr. Hook. I toured with Dr. Hook at the Medicine Show, and they had a hit with On the Cover of the Rolling Stones that Shel Silverstein wrote. Did you ever meet Shel Silverstein?
Yeah. You know, I went down, I lived above Gate 5 in Sausalito, and I went down one day, and I don't know, somebody had my car or something, and I had to go to work, and I walked down the hill to the bus stop down by Gate 5, and who was sitting in the bus stop but Shel Silverstein?
Oh, wow.
So we sat there and shot the breeze for a while, and then the bus come along, we hopped on the bus, and away we went. So that was my exposure to Shel Silverstein.
Well, it seems like you guys would have liked each other. You're both fucking crazy.
Yeah, we got along good. We didn't get no fist fights in the bus stop or nothing.
Well, that's
But
good.
he lived on a houseboat over
them?
Gate 5.
How'd you meet Hot Tuna? Because you seemed to be really tight with them back then. We used to go to all their concerts and all that.
They, let's see, boom, 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 boom. Well, they, I know, Jorma Kaukonen and the bass player, can't think, Jack Cassidy.
Oh.
That used to be was a Jefferson Airplane, right?
Yeah, that was, but they had Hot Tuna going then, because Jack Cassidy played bass for them, and then I think that's before they took Papa John Creech on. But anyhow, they come in and I tattooed Jorma and his wife, and then Jack Cassidy was with him. He didn't get tattooed, but he got, he was just along. Jack Cassidy was just along. And then, so I run across people, Jorma has in Ohio or somewhere, he has a guitar ranch now. That's, or farm or whatever it is, where people go and get advanced studies. There's a good example of like Allman Brothers. I was thinking it was, or Jefferson Airplane. I mean, Jorma Kaukonen can tear a guitar up, playing it, but a lot of people don't know his name, and that's what happens when you're flying under the canopy of a band or something, and you're that nobody knows. It's like
they'll
Mike
know the
Wilhelm
lead singer's name, and that's about it.
Yeah, but I wanted to rename your band one time, and your lead guitar player was Mike Wilhelm, and he said, So,
awesome.
But he was in the Flamin' Groovies, and so...
he was also in the Charlatans, which was the first San Francisco group that started the Haight-Ashbury. He was the guitar player in the Charlatans.
Yeah,
then the Flamin' Groovies.
We had Larry Miller was the lead guitar player for Moby Grape.
Yeah, I love
And he was
Grape.
up here at a benefit. And then I forget the other guys' names. And one of the reasons I met most of them back a long time ago, but it was really funny. We've all got older, and then we all didn't have that silver halo around our profiles, that LSD silver,
Oh, my God.
Because LSD was prevalent back in those days. But I'm 81 now. I don't know if I would have enough courage to do that again. I'm the most fortunate man in the world. It was just bingo.
Yes.
And all that publicity and everything else was just sort of like the highway to heaven or something. It was just sort of one led to the other, to the other, to the other,
Always.
Yeah, I'm a has-been now.
No, you are not. Believe me, from what I've seen in the present culture and what you have established, there's no way you are that. Believe me. And as for you, Girl George, you are you're always vivacious and funny and relentless and restless. Oh, you are just a pure rock and roll spirit. You always have and always will be.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much. And Girl George, have a great afternoon. Thank you so much, Lyle Tuttle. This is the Gypsy Poet saying adieu for now.